The connection between wellness and boundaries, productivity hacks for work and resilience. This is the sixth episode of the series segment, Transformative Personal Experience. I will share actionable strategies to identify areas where weak boundaries may be impacting your well-being, set limits to protect your mental, emotional, and physical health, and maintain balance in high-stress environments without guilt or burnout. So, join us to learn how to transform your life through the power of intentional boundaries. And copy this, my friends. Self-care is not selfish, it's strategic. Welcome to your best for a better you, your special forces unit for breakthrough living, where we decode the DNA of excellence to help you dominate personal growth. Hello, my dear friends. I am Scarlett Marcel Vantedeschia, and today in this transformative episode, we are diving into exploring how setting boundaries is the cornerstone of personal and professional wellness, whether it is protecting your energy, managing your time, or prioritizing self-care. Boundaries create a space to thrive. You will discover how boundaries are not about restriction. They are about empowerment, clarity, and aligning your actions with your values. But let me start by sharing a pivotal moment in my life. During my transition from employee to entrepreneur, I went through a very tough period. So tough that my daughter was wearing worn-out shoes. My father, a man who never handed out money easily for me, believe me, notices this. And it was the first time extending a large bill toward me. He said something I will never forget. Take care of yourself first, before anyone else, even your daughter. If you are okay, she will be too. Those words ignited a fire in me to reevaluate how I approach it. Boundaries, not just with others, but with myself. I realized that wellness starts with boundaries, and this became a cornerstone in my journey to resilience and productivity. Today, we will explore how boundaries are essential for wellness, and I will share practical productivity hacks rooted in my boundary reset experience. So, my friends, stick around for a special announcement on how you can join the waiting list for my book, The Boundary Reset Experience Starlet. So, my dear friends, let's dive in. Boundaries has been my lifeline through some of the most challenging moments of my life. Growing up, my father and my dear aunt Tina instilled in me a sense of discipline and resilience. My father's decisive personality often, always, set tone in our household. Everything was structured. No excuses were allowed. No excuses, my friends. When I was years old, my mother had a life-changing accident that left her quadriplegic. I have mentioned this before. Overnight, I became her caregiver, stepping into adult responsibilities. My father, tough as nails, demanded excellence, always. But his lessons, like the one I just shared, taught me that boundaries are not about saying no to others, they are about saying yes to yourself. My dear Aunt Tina's routines reinforced this. She believed that resilience starts with self-care. Eat well, sleep well, stay out of trouble, get your homework done, and respect your time. These lessons shaped how I set boundaries as an entrepreneur, as an engineer, a professional, a mother, enabling me to transition from an employee role to building my own business. Understanding my decisive personality help me frame these boundaries in a way that work for me and it can work for you also. One of the most significant realizations I had was this. To set boundaries effectively, you must first understand who you are. That is super important. That's why my book dives deep into how personality shapes the way we set boundaries. It's very easy when you do this, but start doing it is you need to really want to do. It's not about building walls. It's about creating pathways to resilience and empowerment. Okay? Well, now let's talk about the productivity hacks that come with setting boundaries. My dear Aunt Tina, structured routines, non-negotiable schedules for meals, sleep, and learning are the perfect examples. By the way, I mentioned before that I love the non-negotiables, right? Maybe in a blog or in another episode, as they have implicit power. That's why I love them. Some personalities refuse what they call rigid, many people, okay? Or that they may seem as rigid. Maybe they is not. And non-negotiables could seem, okay? So Roger, this is not rigid, is strategic. My book explores how personalities influences the boundaries we set and why non-negotiables are game changers. Allow me to say that I first learned the power of non-negotiables through a personal experience where my family and responsibilities demanded clarity, resilience, and efficiency. But while that story is a bit long to share info here, I delve deeper into this principle and its transformative impact in the book. Okay, my friends? So these resources provide actionable strategies to identify and implement non-negotiables in your life and work. But here is a practical takeaway. If you want to maximize your productivity, start by protecting your time. By applying the non-negotiables, this can be a game changer as you are hitting energy efficiency, empowering decision making, and protecting what is critical. Okay? That is the power of non-negotiables. Even for personal relationships, the non-negotiables are the best tools that can save your time and unnecessary unstable situations. I really love them. Create boundaries around your most productive hours. Yes, you heard well. This is important to highlight, okay? And treat them as sacred. This one hack alone can double your efficiency at work. Okay, now the boundary reset experience introduces you to a framework I have developed that ties personality traits to boundary setting techniques, but it's a little complicated to explain here. For example, let me give you an example. If you are like me, with a decisive personality, you might struggle with passion and directness, misinterpreted as rudeness. But by identifying this tendency, you can create strategies to delegate effectively and focus on what truly matters without diminishing your power. That is super important, okay? Now, another quick tip. Implement reset moments in your day. These are short breaks where you step back, recalibrate, and reinforce your boundaries. It's amazing how this simple practice can help you stay focused and prevent burnout. Easy, right? And yes, I know that for some personalities, it is complicated to keep the focus on a task for a long time. And for other personalities, it is the opposite. They are so focused that they forget themselves. That's why I mentioned it is important to know who you are. Okay, my friends? So, by the way, if you find this helpful, I invite you to share this episode with your friends or anyone you think might be benefit from it. After all, boundaries are the foundation of wellness. Without them, self-care falls apart. Learning to say no is a skill that protects your energy, your time, and your focus. It's about creating space for what truly matters, whether it's family, career, or personal growth. Learning to say no protects your finances as well. Now let's talk about resilience. Resilience, which is a key theme in my book, starts with boundaries. When you set boundaries, you create a structure that supports wellness. For example, when I transitioned to entrepreneurship, I had to redefine my boundaries, not just with others, but with myself. I learned that stepping away, resting, recalibrating, saying no, and saying yes to the right is okay. And that's what makes resilience achievable for anyone. You may be wondering, why does resilience matter? Resilience is a multifaceted quality that encompasses emotional strength, adaptability, and the ability to bounce back from life's adversities while fostering personal development and growth by equipping individuals with the tools necessary for future challenges, promoting a sense of control and well-being, a skill that employers are expecting to find in any job interview they handle. As we explore these productivity hacks, remember that resilience amplifies their impact, enabling you to thrive even in the most challenging circumstances. Okay, now, how to identify areas or weak boundaries. Let's start at home. Okay, why home? Because home and your workplace are interconnected. Try to reflect on whether you are constantly overextending yourself or neglecting personal needs due to others' demands. For example, do you find it difficult to say no to family members, resulting in burnout? Make yourself these questions. Am I often sacrificing my personal time, health, or happiness to meet the expectations of family or friends? How does that make me feel? That is a good question. Now, are there recurring situations where I feel overwhelmed or resentful because others depends on me too much or zero? Both can affect, okay? Now, a lack of boundaries at home, such as always being available for family conflicts, can leave you emotionally drained. This exhaustion may lead to decreased focus and energy at work, affecting your job performance. That is why it's so important. Now, at work, let's try to assess if you are taking on extra work beyond your role or area of expertise, or tolerating disrespectful behaviors, as this can lead to frustration, decreased productivity, or even resentment toward co-workers. And yes, if you take on a task beyond your area of expertise, it can be a very good thing for your personal growth. Believe that. But it's super important to set the clear boundaries about the direct responsibility you are or are not acquiring. This will prevent overwhelm and foster resilience and make you grow. Yes, so that is why you need to learn when to say no. Personally, it's easy for me to say yes to extra tasks if they are aligned with my priorities and goals. And yes, sometimes I take on tasks that are zero related to my area of expertise. But I do that because I am interested in acquiring that specific skill. So, my friends, saying yes to extra tasks by setting intentional boundaries is saying yes to your growth. That's powerful, okay? Now, allow me please share a personal story about how setting clear, accountable boundaries helped me avoid being overwhelmed and frustrated in a job position that I really enjoyed. As a new hire, this was a long time ago, I was paired with a senior in six who was responsible for training me, while my job was to learn as much as possible. Naturally, as a newcomer, I had to tackle the less desirable tasks, the ones that often go overlooked. Just as there are hierarchies in job titles, there are also hierarchies in access to mainframe operating systems and their applications, managed through accounts, much like in Windows, user accounts. And my user account had significant restrictions, while the senior had full authority. So one morning, When I arrived at the data center, I found my boss and the senior visibly stressed. As soon as my boss saw me, he called me over. The DNM has failed. The change you made is causing the issue. But I haven't made any changes, I replied. The senior interjected. There is an update in a production library that led to the failure. Production. If that library is in production, it couldn't be my doing. My user account, only has access to development. At that moment, they exchanged glances without saying a word. This wasn't the first time a situation like this had occurred. So I took a stand and I said to my boss, engineer, I believe we can avoid these misunderstandings. There cannot be dual accountability for the DNM. It should be assigned to either him or me. If you assign it to me, then I will take full responsibility. Until then, everything in development is under testing. It doesn't impact production. So I cannot be held accountable. That's it. Well, that was a personal story as an employee. I know that was the way I handle it. And I know that setting these boundaries can be a little complicated for some of you. And I understand that. As I mentioned before, you need to know who you are so you are able to handle it your way. Okay, my friends? So make yourself these questions. Do I avoid speaking up about unfair treatment or workload for fear of conflict or rejection? How has this impacted my performance? Those are two very important questions to make yourself and to answer them for you as well. Okay, now, if you want to explore this further, check out my blog article, Building Resilience with Self-Care. It's a practical guide that ties beautifully into today's episode. You will learn 5 actionable self-care practices that align with the boundary setting principles we have discussed here. Now, as we wrap up, my friends, remember this. Boundaries are not barriers. They are enablers. They allow you to protect what matters most while achieving wellness and productivity. If today's episode resonated with you, don't wait. I invite you to join the waiting list for my upcoming book, The Boundary Reset Experience Start Lean. It is packed with these hacks and more, much more, designed to help you building boundaries that empower, not constrain. Do you remember that I told you stick around for a special announcement on how you can join the waiting list for my book? Okay. Now, there is a link in the description. Hit join the book waiting list. If you register for this waiting list, you will receive an additional bonus, which could include access to a workshop or a complimentary one-to-one pre-recorded training session. That's amazing, right? Only for the people who hit join the book waiting list in this specific link. Now, you can also subscribe to my blog or newsletter and read the articles related to boundaries or resilience. They are super helpful. They are the perfect companions to today's episode, giving you even more insights and strategies to thrive. Well, my dear friends, mission briefing complete. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And copy this. Boundaries are the bridge between chaos and calm. Take the first step today. Evaluate where you need stronger boundaries or healthier boundaries. And commit to small, actionable changes. Subscribe to my podcast as well for more actionable insights. And share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Together we can create intentional, healthy boundaries. Well, my friends, until next time, stay resilient and keep thriving. Strength and honor, my friends. See you in the arena.